He was 16 years old the night his mother didn't come home. Leo remembers the exact smell of the hospital corridor, the sound of the machines, the way the doctor's shoes squeaked on the floor as he walked toward him. He remembers thinking, "This isn't real. This can't be real." And then the doctor spoke. And just like that, Leo's world split into two, the before and the after. In the weeks that followed, people kept telling Leo to be strong, to stay busy, to keep going for his family. So he did. He went back to school. He smiled when people asked how he was. He kept going, but something had changed inside him, something he didn't have words for. The nights were the worst. He would close his eyes and suddenly he wasn't in his room anymore. He was back in that hospital corridor. The smell, the sound, the squeaking shoes. Psychologists call these flashbacks. Leo called them his curse. He didn't know that what was happening to him had a name. He didn't know that his brain, the most complex organ in the known universe, had been hijacked by grief and was now running a survival program it couldn't turn off. He just knew that he was exhausted, and that sleep felt like a trap. To understand what happened to Leo, we need to go inside his brain. Deep inside the brain sits a small structure called the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's smoke detector. Its only job is to scan your environment for danger. And when it finds something, it screams. When Leo's mother died, his amygdala went into overdrive. It registered the event as a catastrophic threat, and it never fully came back down. At the same time, another part of his brain, the hippocampus, your brain's librarian, was supposed to take the memory of that night, stamp it with a date and time, and file it away in the past, where it belongs. But the event was so overwhelming that the librarian froze. The memory never got filed. It had no timestamp, no label that said, "This is over. This already happened." So Leo's brain kept treating it as a live threat. Every time he encountered a trigger, a smell, a sound, a hospital on television, his nervous system responded as if the danger was happening right now. This is post-traumatic stress disorder, not a sign of weakness, not a personality flaw, a biological filing error, in a brain that was only ever trying to keep him safe. 6 months after his mother's death, something else began to happen to Leo. The grief he expected. But this was different. This was a heaviness that had no name. A fog that sat behind his eyes and made everything feel distant and gray. What Leo didn't know was that his brain's reward system had started to shut down. His dopamine, the chemical responsible for pleasure, motivation, and the feeling that anything is worth doing, had effectively gone on strike. The things he used to love felt pointless. Not sad, just empty, like someone had turned the color down on everything. This is anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. And it is one of the cruelest symptoms of depression, because it takes the very things that could help you and makes them feel unreachable. Meanwhile, the part of his brain responsible for rational thinking, the prefrontal cortex, his internal CEO, was going offline, leaving him with a hyperactive alarm system, a frozen filing cabinet, and no manager to bring order to any of it. Leo was 19 when a psychology lecture changed something. Not because he heard something new, but because for the first time, he heard something that described exactly what had been happening inside him. He learned that what he experienced wasn't weakness. It was a biological injury, measurable, documented, and most importantly, treatable. He learned that the brain is not fixed, that it is plastic, constantly remodeling itself in response to behavior and environment, that the filing error in his hippocampus could, with the right tools, be corrected. He learned that healing from trauma isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about convincing your brain that it already did. Leo's recovery wasn't linear. It was 3 steps forward and 1 step back. Sometimes a moonwalk backward. But it was real. He learned about cognitive behavioral therapy, a way of catching his brain's automatic lies before they became beliefs. The catastrophizing, the black and white thinking, the emotional reasoning that turned feelings into facts. He learned about grounding, the 5-4-3-2-1 technique that forces the brain to switch from internal trauma loops to external sensory reality. 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear. He learned about the vagus nerve, that by taking 1 slow deep breath, expanding the diaphragm, he was physically sending a signal directly to his amygdala that said, We are safe. You can turn off the alarm now. And slowly, one tool at a time, Leo's brain began to file the memory where it belonged. In the past, with a timestamp, with a label that finally said, "This is over." He still carries the loss. He always will, but he is no longer trapped inside it. Leo's story is not unique. It is the story of millions of people walking around right now with unfiled memories, overactive alarms, and a brain that never got the signal that the danger passed. People who were told to be strong when they needed to be understood. People who were told to move on when their brain was biologically incapable of doing so without help. People sitting alone in cafes, looking out train windows, watching their children play with an expression that feels distant even to themselves. If any part of Leo's story felt familiar, this is for you. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not too far gone. You are a person whose brain is stuck. And stuck things can move again. If you want to go deeper, I have written 4 books for this community, each one built around one thing, giving you clarity, not complicated theories, not empty motivation, something real, something you can actually use. The Depression Blueprint breaks down the full neuroscience of depression, the chemical soup, the cognitive distortions, the motivation trap, and the evidence-based tools that actually rewire the brain. If you have ever wondered why you cannot just snap out of it, this book answers that. Beyond the Flashback is for anyone who has ever felt trapped by something that already happened. It covers the science of trauma, PTSD, why the brain gets stuck, and how to finally give those memories a timestamp. Leo's story lives in this book. Social engineering for introverts is for the person who has always felt that the world was built for someone louder than them. It is a framework on how introverts can navigate influence, connection, and power on their own terms, without pretending to be someone they are not. And Ferrari engine bicycle brakes. The newest one is for every person who has ever been told they have potential, but cannot seem to stay on track. It is the honest, science-backed guide to ADHD, the dopamine system, the interest-based nervous system, the gap between knowing and doing, written with warmth, written without judgment. All 4 books are available now. Links in the description below. And if this video helped you, share it with one person who needs it. Subscribe to this channel, and follow the Brain Bytes on Instagram for daily psychology content that actually respects your intelligence. Your brain built you under pressure. Now let us build it back, together.